In Laurel County, the town of London is recognized as the cycling capital of Kentucky. As bicycling in the United States continues to gain popularity, London's scenic bike-friendly roadways and trails draw bike riders from across the country and overseas.
London is the cycling capital of Kentucky because there's excellent opportunities. Road, mountain bike. You could park at the farmer's market that's in the center of town of London. You could park there, and within 3 miles, you're on back roads.
We have miles and miles of mountain bike trails in the National Forest and in city parks around London and Laurel County. We have tons and tons of miles of just open rural roads that have rolling hills that make road riding just the best it can be for all levels of skill, from a new rider up to a very experienced rider.
A lot of people from urban areas, they just keep going on and complimenting how our country roads are lower, less traffic areas. They get excited if they see a tractor, and when there's a beautiful barn and maybe some cattle out in the field. That is one thing that they don't get to experience at their hometown.
It's not unusual for us to go on a 30 or a 40 or even a 50-mile ride and see 2, maybe 3 motor vehicles. Really just a safe, wonderful place to be riding your bicycle and enjoy our magnificent countryside.
We're at Levi Jackson State Park over on the Broken Spoke Trail. It's a 5.5-mile loop that we started building probably 3.5 years ago. When we built this trail, going into it, I know that it would be 100% volunteer effort, and it was. Nobody's made a dime doing this. But having a place to ride is totally worth it. And the way this trail system is laid out, you are never a half a mile from your vehicle. So there's no need to pack extra water, a bunch of tools, because if you have a flat or something happens, you're always close to your vehicle. There's beginners ride it, and there's people that's experts that has rode it. I mean, we've got national champions riding this trail.
Back in 2008, 2009, I was recruited by David Grigsby, the head coach of Lindsey Wilson College cycling team. He gave me a scholarship, and a couple years later, I won a national title for the school. A few years after that, the school reapproached me and asked me if I wanted to take over the coach position. My career was really born out of being able to ride these trails, these parks that are here in London and Laurel County to develop the skills I needed to compete at a national level. And it's great to be able to offer the opportunity that I had and took advantage of, and really got to experience an awesome 4 years of not only getting my education, but getting to race my bike, make great friends, and experience things all over the country, and win some titles doing so. Broken Spoke. That trail asset here in essentially downtown London is massive. There's tons of turns, there's technical features, there's rooty sections, rock sections, and just enough to keep you entertained and not let you get bored on the trail. It's the perfect balance of whatever kind of ride you're feeling for the day, it's going to satisfy that. In the Laurel Lake Trail system here in the National Forest, you have a beautiful picture of the lake most of the whole ride, to the deep rhododendron-covered woods to, put miles in them. Spend time on, learn to ride or increase their speed and increase their skill levels. But attached to all that, you have technical riding, very advanced, you would consider black diamond, very difficult rock drops and roots, and, the hard stuff that you would see in a magazine. For training, this is a pretty good place to come. I mean, some of the best mountain bikers and, some of the best road cyclists in Kentucky come here on the weekends to get out there and enjoy what the trails have to offer.
Capital Bicycles is a handmade bicycle frame manufacturing business. We pride ourselves on 2 specific operations of setting up a bicycle frame. The first is comfort, and the second is fit. Every tube is cut by hand. We miter every joint. We make sure that once it's fitted in the jig, that every joint is absolutely perfect. We work in terms of tolerances of 1/1000th of an inch, and sometimes it'll take me 45 minutes just to perfect a single joint. And when you're working with the tubing, it's almost like you have a connection with the metal, just holding it in your hands and working it with a file. The care that gets put into each build is something that really makes a handmade bike even more special than anything you could ever buy off the shelf that is put together by a robot or mass-produced. Every Capital bicycle has a badge of honor. It's one of one, and I pride myself in putting bicycles out there that are absolutely unique. The fact that we're based in London geographically, it just is the right sort of profile for my business, you know, the love, the care, the joy we get out of producing our bicycles. And that all stems from my very good friend Rodney Henriksen, who was the originator of the Redbird Ride, and we too are a proud sponsor of that cycling event. The Redbird Ride brings 1,000+ cyclists in April to London, Kentucky.
When a visiting cyclist comes to London and we see your bike rack on the top of your car, we are just greeting you and welcoming you. I ask, what type of cyclist are you? Are you into road or mountain bike? And immediately their eyes just glow. And they're like, oh yes, we like the hills. And someone that has been doing the Redbird Ride for several years will kind of laugh and say, you've not seen Tussie Hill yet, talk about hills.
When you're riding around our local areas, I would suggest that you take in part of the Redbird route. We have a very, very famous hill. Well, we call it famous because it's famous to us. It's called Tussie, and Tussie often strikes the fear of cycling into everybody who hears the name around this area. The reason it's so well known with the Redbird Ride particularly is that you hit it with 90 miles on the legs, so it is a strenuous climb. I think one of the reasons I love riding my bicycle so much is the wide variation of terrain within a very small geographical area. There's a magnificent part of the Redbird route that runs along the Rocastle River, and you're inside the Daniel Boone Forest. I get goosebumps every time I think about this route. You've got this beautiful rolling river on the right-hand side and the Daniel Boone Forest up on the left-hand side, just experiencing sort of nature in its perfection alone, the rumble of your tires. For me, it's just paradise.